Hey guys, so for today's video, we're gonna do a declutter. I've been wanting to declutter this part of my makeup collection for a while now, so we're gonna go through all of my blushes, all my bronzers, and all of my highlighters in this video, both cream and powder. This style of declutter is kind of inspired by Sarah Rose. I was watching her declutter and I really liked how she did it because she actually went through and swatched all the products. And that might sound kind of obvious to you, but I have never swatched all of my blushes together, but it makes so much sense. So I'm really excited to do that today and just take a good hard look at what I have and just get rid of things that I'm not using as much anymore, things that I've replaced with new favorites. And one thing I'm going to ask myself a lot for this declutter is, one, have I used this product in the last 6 months? Because we are now more than halfway through 2023, so I really want to take a good look at that. And I also want to ask myself, would I buy this product today? That's something I often do when I'm looking at my closet, and if I'm trying to declutter things from my closet, I think that's a great question to ask yourself. So I'll be keeping those questions in mind as I'm going through all of the products today. Here's just an overview of all the products I'm going to go through today. Let's start out with cream blushes. Okay, I hope this view looks okay because I'm kind of filming from a weird setup right now, but these are all of my cream blushes, and I just feel like I have too many right now, and just looking at this, I already know there's a few that I want to get rid of, so I'm going to kind of organize this a little bit, I guess. So just looking at this pile, there's already a few that I know that I have not used in the last 6 months, and products that I just don't really enjoy using. One of that being this one by Julep. This is their, what do they even call it? They call it their 3-in-1 color stick for eyes, lips, and cheeks, and they say it blends seamlessly, but I kind of have to disagree with that. And this is just such a bright pink color that I really don't like wearing for my blush shades. Like I said, I just don't think it blends easily. It's not a color I like to wear, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this one. Another one I just don't get a lot of use out of is this one by Glossier. I bought this so long ago, and what I've kind of learned about myself is that I just don't really love blushes in this kind of squeezy tube packaging. I do like these kind of ones that have that little applicator with it, you know, that's fine. But anything that comes out like this where I have to pick it up with the brush, it's not an enjoyable time for me to use that blush. So this one is in the shade Beam, and I'll go ahead and swatch it for you. And again, this is a color I just never wear. Look at how bright that is. And I think I bought this kind of before I really knew what Glossier was, before they became super big, but I don't use this. I don't like this type of formula, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Another one that I just have not used really at all, honestly, is this Ciate Dewy Blush Glossy Cheek Tint. The shade is called Pomegranate. Again, this is just a formula I don't love to use, and I think I tried this once on my face and I was very confused by it. It's very sheer, and I just don't know how to make this work on my face. I think this one was sent to me by Ciate, but I don't love this color, I don't like this application, and it's kind of a weird formula. I'm pretty happy to get this one out of my collection. Ugh, we have to talk about this Flower Blush Balm. I bought this from your guys' recommendations. I've heard a lot of people really like this formula, but this color is just not a good one for me. I think I used it in a video probably a couple months ago at this point. Honestly, it's been a while, but look at this color. It is so strange. It's like a tan yellow. Who wants that on their cheek? Did I say what the shade was? The shade is Pinched. And doesn't that look kind of gross? So I'm sure this formula is pretty good, because even just putting this one on my arm compared to those three, it does feel a lot better, but this color is just atrocious, honestly. If you have a color you like better than this one, please let me know. But just because of that color, I will be decluttering this one. Okay, I really want to swatch this Makeup by Mari one because I have not used this one a lot, and oh, I always open the wrong end of this. One thing that I hate about this is that I never know which end is the freaking cap. There we go. Okay, so this is the color Raspberry, and it's this beautiful, super bright pink color, but I think it's a little too bright for me and a little too scary of a color. Oh my gosh, that's so freaking bright. And while the formula is nice, I get a little terrified every time I go to use this. It's just such a cool tone pink. I just don't wear shades like this. So although I love Mario, I think I gotta declutter this one. I am already feeling so much better right now. Another one that I'm not really sure about in my collection is this one by Fenty Beauty. This is the Matchstick in the shade Beach Bum. Now this color is stunning. It kind of reminds me of NARS Orgasm a little bit, where it's kind of like a peachy color but has a gold reflect in it, and it's a beautiful kind of burnt color, but I just don't love the formula of these matchsticks. I've also had the bronzer and the highlight version of these, and I just find them to be very drying. It's a very dry formula. I don't know, I go back and forth on this one all the time. I mean, I feel like on my arm that's actually blending out pretty good. Okay, maybe I'll have to revisit this one. I'm gonna like set that over here. Okay, so those were all the blushes that I just wanted to get out of my collection at first. And now I'm gonna swatch all of these off camera and we'll go through them one by one. Okay, like I said in the beginning, I've never actually gone through and swatched like all of my blushes together. So here are these first 10 cream blushes I wanna show you. These first 4 right here are the Sigma cream blushes. And as I was swatching them, I was just like, oh my gosh, these feel so good. The formula is just amazing on these. I'm gonna keep all 4 for sure, but in order, this is Coral Dawn, Nearly Wild, Pashmina, and Corte Rosa. Corte Rosa is definitely my most used just because it is the most neutral. My least used is definitely Nearly Wild because this is kind of a scary color to me, but I think that'll be beautiful in the fall. I also have been using Coral Dawn and Pashmina quite a bit, especially in the summer when I just want to add like a brighter pop to my cheeks. This 5th swatch right here is this one by Tarte. This is the shade Peach Sunset, and I love this cream blush, and seeing it swatched out next to all of these, like, this might be my favorite color out of them. For a minute, I almost put this in my project pan just because it's like a beautiful everyday cream blush, but I'm not going to put it in my project pan, but I'm definitely going to keep it. I think this is a perfect everyday color. And then this sheer swatch right here is the new Makeup by Mario one in Barely Blushing. It is a super light color and definitely more of a sheer formula, but I've mentioned in a few videos how I've been using this blush as kind of like my blush blending shade just to make the edges look a little bit softer, so I'm going to keep that, and I really want to try more colors of it. So this next deep one is my Tower 28 blush in Power Hour. I bought this a while ago, I think based off of a Jamie Page recommendation because I think she loves these blushes, but as I was swatching this, I was like, wow, this one looks so deep, especially compared to everything else, but I also feel like it might be going a little bit bad. I don't know if you can see, there's like little holes in the formula almost, and I don't know if that's normal, but I don't think it's normal because none of my other blushes have that issue, so let me know how you feel about those holes. But I know that since Tower 28 is more of like a clean brand, their products do go bad faster, so I might get rid of this one, we'll see, but I definitely have not used it in the last 6 months, so I might set this one aside, we'll see. And then this pretty pink right here is the Milani cream blush in the shade Nude Kiss. I do love using this blush, and I think it's a great drugstore formula. And then these last 2 swatches here are my Rare Beauty cream blushes. I have Nearly Neutral and Nearly Apricot. And I do have pan on my Nearly Neutral. This is a good, perfect everyday shade. I do want to get more use out of Nearly Apricot, especially in the summer, but this is such a pretty kind of orangey color, but it's not too scary of an orange. It's pretty wearable, and it's a really nice buildable formula. Okay, let me swatch these ones. I realized that the other e.l.f. wand I had over here was actually a highlighter, so I moved that to the highlighter section. So in order, I have my Patrick Ta blush duo in She's Blushing. You guys know I have been using the crap out of this product. I love it, but I have to say this is the most pigmented powder blush I have ever used. I know it's a powder and we're doing the creams, but it's in the cream compact. So this is the cream, this is the powder. Whenever I use this powder one, I use the fluffiest blush brush I can find, and I still get so much pigment, but I love this cream color. I've had some people ask me if I do cream then powder or powder then cream, and I kind of mix it up honestly depending on my mood and just kind of what makeup look I'm going for that day, but I love this blush. I know it's gonna last me a long time, and I love the color of it. These next 2 are the Melt Cream Blush Light formulas. So this is Sandy Cheeks and this one is Honey Thief. These are probably the most pigmented cream blushes I have in my collection. Like one swatch of this on your cheeks and you have full pigment, but it's still very easy to work with and very easy to blend out. I do feel like this Sandy Cheeks shade is pretty unique, where it's kind of like a burnt orange but with a little bit of a yellow undertone in it, and it's definitely not as yellow as that other one I got rid of from Flower Beauty. I think Honey Thief was my first shade that I have of this, so it's just kind of that beautiful slightly coral pink color. And then the bright red is my Rare Beauty blush in Grateful. I have gone back and forth on decluttering this so many times. I even posted a video a few weeks ago where I did a full face of makeup I might declutter, and I put this on in that video, and I don't know, guys. I go back and forth so many times. I think the color is so unique to my collection. Like, I clearly don't have anything else like it, but this formula is just so hard to work with, and I feel like part of me wants to keep it just because it's Rare Beauty, but I need to also be realistic with myself. Like, do I enjoy this color? Would I buy it now? Do I like to use it? And honestly, the answer is no. Like, it's hard to use. It's too bright of a color for me. I think I'm gonna declutter it. I'm doing it, guys. Like, Like, that kind of hurts to get rid of Rare Beauty, but I mean, you gotta do it, you know? And then these next two swatches right here are from this Kaja little blush stack in Sweet Sangria. I don't use these colors often, but I like to keep them in my collection because they are a little bit more kind of mauvey purple toned, especially this one right here. It kind of reminds me of that pomegranate one I just got rid of from Ciate. So this is the bottom shade, this is the top shade. Again, something kind of different in my collection, but I do think this formula is pretty easy to work with, and it's a cute little stack, so I'll keep it. And then these last two are my two wands. This one is Charlotte's Tilbury Pinkgasm. This last one is the e.l.f. blush and candlelit. So when this formula came out, I bought this color because I wanted to buy something different than what I have in my collection. You can see, like, it's a pretty different color, but I never use this. I just don't think this color looks very good on me. Like, it's kind of peachy, has a little bit of gold in it, but it just kind of makes me look washed out when I wear it. So I think I'm gonna declutter this, and it kind of makes me mad that I should have just bought a color I do like if I really wanted to try out this formula. So I am gonna get rid of this one. I am gonna keep the Pinkgasm though because I do love this color. Okay, then as I'm sitting here, the two that I set aside were the Tower 28 and the Fenty Beauty one. I think I'm gonna declutter the Fenty Beauty one again because the formula is drier. I do find it a little trickier to work with, and I just don't like this application for a cream blush. I do think the color is gorgeous though. For the Tower 28, I think I might let you guys decide. Tell me what you think about these holes in my product, if this is normal. Wait, does this smell? No, it doesn't have a smell to it, so let me know if I should keep it or not. All right, so I started with 23 cream blushes. I am decluttering 8 and keeping 15, and I do love and use these colors, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's move on to powder blush. So here are all of my powder blushes, and this just feels like way too much. This is really overwhelming, and I know I don't use all of these. And can I just say something really nitpicky? I hate when brands don't show the color of the blush through the packaging. Like, I want it to be like this. I want to know what I'm grabbing for, especially with kind of a colorful product, you know? Like, I want to know what color my blush is as soon as I look at it. So that's just me being annoying and picky. But first of all, right off the bat, I need to declutter this, the Balm Will Powder Blush Quad. I've only ever used this for this one shade, and I would use that shade before I had the Dior blush because it was kind of similar. I actually want to go through and swatch all these really quick just for one last time, right? I'm not even gonna swatch it on my arm, but yeah, like the only shade I would use would be that pinky one right there. Let's swatch the Dior on my thumb. Okay, I'm holding this really weird, but see, the Dior is much prettier, a little bit brighter, and I just don't really enjoy the quality of the Balm products. I don't think they're the best, and I don't like their packaging. I don't like the vibe, you know what I mean? Okay, so I'm gonna declutter this one. I do have a couple blushes in here that I just don't really know what they look like on the face, so I'm gonna swatch some of these here. So for example, these new Catrice ones, they sent these to me, and at first I didn't really like them, but I've seen people like Kelly Gooch rave about these, so I feel like I have not given them much of a chance, and I want to see what the colors look like swatched, and this Hourglass one, and probably these ones as well. So let's swatch all of these guys together. Okay, let's go through these 6 that I swatched. These first 2 are the Catrice ones. So this is the Blush Glow, and this is the Blush Matte. They did send me a few in PR, but these are the only 2 shades that I kept, and they did swatch out pretty nicely. Oh, do you want to know the shades? You might want to know the shade. Okay, this one is Coral Sky, and the second one is Peach Heaven. So those did swatch nicely. I do like those colors, so I think I just need to give those another chance on my face. This third one right here, I'm very like shocked by. So it's this Hourglass blush in the shade At Night. And look at this in the pan. Doesn't that look so scary? But as I swatched it, it kind of reminded me of my Patrick Ta blush that I was just raving about. I kind of want to grab that really quick and see. Are those similar? I think Hourglass can sometimes be a little misleading just because of the formula and how it looks like 2 shades kind of baked together. Are those pretty close? I'm sorry, this is the most awkward thing in the world. Those are pretty dang close. And it's kind of funny because the Hourglass one, this almost looks like a cream swatched on my arm, but it's not. Okay, that actually makes me feel really better because I was thinking about decluttering this one because I didn't really know how I liked the shade, but now that I know it's super close to my Patrick Ta, I'm definitely going to use it. Okay, very happy about that. This third one is this Makeup by Mario Creamy Peach. As I swatched it, it did feel very dry, which was a little disappointing, but I think the shade itself is really pretty. I'm sure I have other things similar to it, so I'll keep it for now, but it's kind of on the chopping block, honestly. And then these last 2 right here are these ColourPop blushes, and I definitely thought they used to be more pigmented, but they swatched very, very, very sheer. Honestly, kind of disappointing. These came out like 2-3 years ago from their Valentine's collection, as you can see. So this top one right here is Kiss and Tell. This bottom one is Flirt Alert, and they're so sheer. I don't like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter these ones. Okay, so I swatched the next 8 blushes. These first 6 are by Sigma. This one is Glowish, and this one is by Flower Beauty. So like I said in the beginning, I don't like this packaging because I wish I could just look at the blush and know what I'm dipping into, right? So honestly, these Sigma ones I don't use very often. And again, like I said, I haven't really swatched out my blushes before, and looking at these shades, I'm not really like blown away by any. I think for sure I would keep Corte Rosa. Oh, maybe I should tell you the order. This is Nearly Wild, Corte Rosa, Tiger Lily, Berry Love, Bronze Star, and Sunset Kiss. Straight off, I know I'll keep Corte Rosa because I've used that color plenty of times. I just do love that color in general from them. But like Nearly Wild, I have never really used, honestly. So I think I'd rather pass that on to someone else. Corte Rosa, I will keep. Tiger Lily, I do think it's a pretty color. Again, it's kind of like a peach with a little bit of gold in it. I do like Berry Love because it's kind of just a pretty kind of soft berry color, that 4th one right there. Then Bronze Star is kind of a tricky shade for me. Like, it looks beautiful, but I think this would look better on medium to deep skin tones. It's just a little too much for me. Honestly, I'd love this as like an eyeshadow, but we all know I would never get around to using it as an actual eyeshadow, so I think I'd pass this one along as well. And then I do like Sunset Kiss. I do think it's nice to kind of have a more kind of brighter pink color. For this Glowish one, this is in the shade Berry Juicy, and this is a lot more berry than I thought. It does look pretty similar to the berry one from Sigma, and formula wise, I think I do prefer the Sigma ones, and I just don't really like how small this pan is. Like, it's a very small blush, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and pass this one along to someone else. And then this Flower Beauty one, I do think is a pretty color. I need to get more use out of this, and I feel like I say this all the time, but it is pretty. It's a good drugstore blush, so I will keep it. All right, let's move on to the next round of blushes. So these first 5 right here are the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blushes, which I've been talking about for a while now. I think it's such a beautiful drugstore formula, and it's very similar to the Hourglass powders, which is very expensive, so highly recommend those. And then we have a random MAC blush, a Dior blush, and a KVD beauty blush. So let's start with the Essence ones. My most used one is definitely Cool Coral. You can see like the packaging is just going away, but again, I love that I can see the color that I'm grabbing for, and it's just a perfect, like, kind of slightly brighter coral blush, but it's not too intense. I wear this almost like every day. This next one is Shimmery Rose, and it's another really light shade, but I find that it goes on top of like any other blush beautifully, so I'm definitely gonna keep that. This third one is Pink Flush, which is slightly more cool toned. As I was swatching these, this 4th one, Rosy Rosewood, oh my gosh, what a name. It doesn't have like the same sheen as the other 3. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but it doesn't have that same like beautiful glow that I like. So it's kind of disappointing that it doesn't have that same sheen, but I do think the color itself is really pretty, and it's kind of different from other things that I own, so I will keep this one. Oh, by the way, I got all these Essence ones from a PR package, and I only kept this handful of them. I didn't keep all of them. And then the 5th one I have is Pretty Peach, so I love having this in a peach formula. I think it's so pretty. And then the MAC blush I have is Warm Soul, so that's this one swatched right here. I think I bought this because Samantha Ravndahl would rave about it, but I think this is like the new formula, even though MAC says they didn't reformulate it. Honestly, I was never a big MAC girly, so I don't know much about all that drama. I just know this was like reformulated. But honestly, like looking at these 2 colors side by side, this Essence Peach one and then MAC Warm Soul, I definitely prefer the Essence one. This Warm Soul is just not really doing much for me, and I don't really reach for this one anyways. I've had this in my collection for a while now, so I think I'm gonna declutter this one. This Cool Tone Pink is obviously the Dior blush in Rosy Glow that everyone has been raving about forever. Honestly, I don't get the hype behind this blush, but I am gonna keep it because I spent the $40 on it, and I do like to use it as a blush topper. If I just want my blush to kind of pop a little bit more, I will throw this on top. And then this last swatch right here is this one by KVD. This is the shade Foxglove. I haven't used this one in a while, but I remember when I first got it, I really did love it. I think this is definitely more of a pretty fall colored blush, has a little more kind of depth to it, but as I swatched it, it did feel very, very creamy, so I am gonna keep it. All right, we are on to these last few blushes right here. So these first 2 are the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blushes. These 3 are the Bare Minerals Bronzers. These 4 are from my Hourglass blush quad, and this last one is from this other Hourglass little quad. So this first one is Always Punchy from e.l.f., and I love this color. color. I think it's such a fun, pretty bright color. The formula is very creamy, very easy to work with. I'm totally gonna keep this one. And then this next one is Always Cheeky, which is such a pale color that has a slight peach undertone to it. And I've used this shade a lot as kind of like a blush blending shade like I talked about earlier. So I honestly haven't used this one in a while, but I'm not ready to get rid of it yet, so I will hold on to it. And then these three are the Bare Minerals bronzers, and I've never actually swatched them all out like this, so swatching them out like made more sense in my brain. So this first one is Kiss of Pink, which is definitely my most used one. It's also the most kind of like everyday color, I would say, for my skin tone, so I love this one. It will keep. This next really burnt shade is Kiss of Rose, and now that I've swatched it, I've kind of realized why I don't like to use this one. It's just too deep for me. Again, I just don't think this shade is really meant for my light skin tone, but I think it would look beautiful on medium to deep, so I think I am gonna go ahead and get rid of this one, but love this formula. And this third one is Kiss of Copper, more of an orangey color with a little bit of a gold sheen in it. I don't use this one as much, but I would like to get more use out of it, so I am going to hold on to it. And then these four swatches, like I said, are from this Hourglass Blush Quad. I bought this probably 3-4 years ago at this point, and it is currently in my project pan. This shade right here is my most used, which is this swatch right there. I didn't realize how sheer this shade swatched out to be like that one, but a lot of the times I will just mix all four shades together. Obviously I will keep because it is in my project pan and I do enjoy using this. And then this last swatch is this blush shade from this Hourglass Quad. So I've had this quad for a while now, and I just don't really use face palettes. I feel like a lot of us kind of were really in a face palette phase for a while, you know, maybe back in like 2016, 2017, but I feel like face palettes have really died out and I just never grab for them. And so this blush shade is super similar to the blush shade in the other Hourglass Quad. So if I were to take that shade out, like, am I going to use these other three? Probably not. I do think this highlighter is very pretty. And then this one right here, the finishing powder in Soft Light. I do already have a lot of the ambient lighting powders. And then for the bronzer, Golden Bronze Light. I don't know, I might have to give this another chance on my face, maybe do another video of like full face of makeup on my declutter, because I think I want to give this one more chance, so I will hold on to it for now. Alright, so I started out with 30 powder blushes. I am keeping 22 and decluttering 8. I think I could have done a bit better, but like I said, this one is still on the chopping block. I still gotta try these Catrice ones a little bit more, so we'll see. But I'll take my 8. I feel like that's pretty good. Alright, so for powder bronzers, I have these guys right here. I am gonna count the bronzer that's in the Hourglass Quad, and then this Dior Quad that I have not swatched yet. But I did swatch these first 8. And here are the swatches. So the first one right here is my Hourglass bronzer in Nude Bronze Light. This is hands down my most used one. It was just in my project pan, and believe it or not, I did hit pan on it. It did take literally forever. I think I've had this for 2-3 years now, but you can see that tiny bit of that kind of waffle pan in there, so that's super exciting. And even just looking at all these swatches, like, that's my favorite color for sure out of all these bronzers, so love this one, will forever keep. So this next one right here is the Glowish bronzer in the shade Medium. Now this does not look like a medium to me. Doesn't that look super light? And also when I was trying to swatch it, it just felt like super dry in the pan, and I just don't really think the color is really right for me. I remember like months ago, maybe even last year, I tried to like scratch off the top layer of the pan to really get to it, but it just, I don't like it. So I think I'm going to declutter this one. So that's 2 Glowish products I have decluttered today. This third one right here is the newest bronzer in my collection. It is the Kosas Waves Sunshow Bronzer. I think this was either the lightest or second to lightest shade, but here's what it looks like right here. Super pretty. I love the sheen that that bronzer has. I probably could get a deeper color, but I obviously just don't need to right now. Obviously keeping. This fourth one right here is the Haus Labs bronzer in the shade Light Level 2. Now this color, kind of the tone just reminds me of that Glowish one I just decluttered, but swatching this one, it just felt much creamier, much more pigmented, so I'm happy to keep this one in my collection. It almost kind of has a little bit of a yellowy undertone to it, but I mean, like, I fake tan so much, so it's kind of like the color of my skin tone is always kind of different every day, honestly, so I like that. This fifth one right here is the Makeup by Mario Skin Perfector in light medium. Now, I do use this product as a bronzer. I know some people use it different ways, but I like to mix all the shades together and kind of use it as like a bronzer topper. So that's this one right here, and I feel like it's swatched pretty similarly to the Kosas one. Like, they both kind of have that sheen in it. I think the Mario one is maybe just slightly deeper, but they are very close. These next two matte ones are the Sigma matte bronzer, so I have the shade light and the shade medium. I'm definitely keeping these because, as you can see, a lot of the bronzers I have are more on the glowy side, but I think it's good to have some matte bronzers on hand. I definitely use the light one more out of the two that I have. The medium one is pretty deep. It's almost deeper than my Hourglass one. Or actually, no, it definitely is deeper than the Hourglass one. So I don't use the medium a lot, but if there's a day where I'm just like super self-tanned, I'll use the medium. And then this last swatch is the bronzer from the Hourglass quad I just showed you guys. So it's that one right there. I think it said golden, what was it called? So this is golden bronze light, and this one is nude bronze light. So good to know at least they're different colors. And this shade definitely does look more golden than my nude bronze light. So again, I think I'm gonna try this on my face. I'm gonna keep it for now. I'm just gonna quickly swatch this Dior little quad on my fingers. This is the Contour palette. Honestly, I have not used this in a minute. I don't really use like contouring shades, you know? And I never got use out of this deeper shade. I mean, you can see these two were my most used. I never really used the highlighter shade. So like, let me swatch those two. Do I ever need to contour? I don't know. But I feel like it's also good to keep a contour shade just in case. So maybe I'll also have to do this in a video where it's like full face of makeup I might declutter, because I need to try it on my face again before I fully declutter it. Like, this looks really cool tone, so I just need to see how it looks on my face. Right, so the only powder bronzer I decluttered was the Glowish one, and I feel pretty good about that. Hi, baby. Thank you for checking in on me. That's really nice. That's good. I'll look right here. Alright, let's go through these cream bronzers and contours really quick. So I feel like I kind of have a small amount, but as you can see, 3 of them are the Rare Beauty bronzer sticks. And here's what everything looks like all swatched out. I feel like we have a bunch of different colors going on here. So this first one right here is the Merit bronzer stick. The shade is called Clay, and I honestly do not like this formula. For me, it's just way too sheer, and it kind of just blends out into nothing. I'm not a fan of it, so I am going to go ahead and declutter this one. I've honestly been thinking about decluttering it for a while, so I'm happy to finally just kind of have it out. And then these next 3 right here, like I said, are all the Rare Beauty bronzer sticks. So here's what happened. I started the shade Power Boost, which is this one right here, which is kind of like my go-to color. And then I was like, ooh, let me get Happy Soul, which is a little bit deeper for when I'm more tan. And then I was like, well, then I need a shade for when I'm paler, so I have the shade Bright Side. And out of these 3, Power Boost is still my most used, but I almost never use Happy Soul because it is too deep for me. I have tried many times to make this shade work, and it never works. It's too dark for me, just straight up. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one just because the shade doesn't work. But this probably is one of my favorite cream bronzer formulas. It's just so easy to work with. It blends out beautifully. The pigmentation is perfect. So I am gonna keep Bright Side and Power Boost. And then these 2 right here are the e.l.f. Luminous Putty Bronzers. And just looking at these shades, I have this really, really cool tone one right here. What is this shade? Does it say? Alright, so the shade is Vacay Mood, and as you can see, it's super cool toned, almost gray, and I keep telling myself that I'll use it on a day where I'm super pale, but I just haven't used it yet, so I will declutter that one. And then the next one is the shade Sun Chaser. So this one looks pretty deep to me, but I really haven't given it much of a chance on my actual face, so I think I'm going to hang on to that for now, but will get rid of the cool tone shade. This next one is my Makeup by Mario Skin Enhancer in light medium. As you can see, I love this product. Like, I think if you're new to cream bronzer and just want something really easy, this is the one to go with. It is so balmy, so easy to blend out, beautiful pigment. I can wear it on its own or on top of a full face of makeup. Like, This is probably my favorite out of all of them, straight up. And then this next swatch right here is the Drunk Elephant D Bronzy Drop. So I don't use this as an actual bronzer. I actually just mix this into my moisturizer on a day where I want kind of a tan tinted moisturizer. So that's gonna stay, but I don't use it as a bronzer. This next one right here is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Contour Wand. I have the shade Light Medium. I love this product. If I have a day where I want just like a perfect cream contour, I will use this. So pigmented, very easy to work with. I do enjoy it. And then the last one I have is the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer in Light. Another formula that I really love and like is really good for drugstore, honestly. This is probably one of the best drugstore face products I have ever used. So out of all those cream bronzers, I am decluttering 3, so I feel really good about that. Okay, next we are moving on to cream highlights, and I just have this cute little collection of 6 of them here. I swatched them all out for you, so let's go through them. This first one is the Rare Beauty Liquid Highlighter in Enlighten. This one is beautiful. It is a little light for me, but on days that I'm super pale, or if I want just like a really intense highlighter, I will go for this one. Next, I have a mini of the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This is the shade Too Fair. As I swatched this, I realized how similar it is to the Auric Glow Less, which is this 4th one. I feel like this product just gives me a super light glow, not necessarily a highlight look. I mean, like, it is highlighted, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not shimmery and reflective. It just has a little bit of a pop of glow, so I will keep this. And then the next one is my Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light Wand in the shade Spotlight, so that's the 3rd one right here. I think this one is the most pretty out of all of these swatched, and I'm kind of thinking, since both of these are minis, I might put one into my project pan and try to get through it, because like they're cute and little and should be pretty easy to finish up, right? And then, like I said, this 4th swatch right here is my Auric Glow Lust in Morganite. I don't really use this product much as a liquid highlight. I kind of just put it like all over my face for a glow, just because it is kind of like, it comes out in a pump, you know, so it's kind of hard to do like a really pinpointed application with this, but I do like this product. And then this 5th swatch right here is from my Natasha Denona Dream Cheek Trio. I did swatch the base shade. I realized I didn't swatch this blush during my blushes, but I'm keeping this anyways, so that's that. But I've actually been using these highlighters a lot recently. I just think it gives such a beautiful glow, and if I want something soft, I'll use just the cream color, or if I want something more intense, I will go on top with the powder. And then this last swatch right here is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Wand in Rose Quartz. So like I said, when I bought these new e.l.f. wands, I bought shades that I typically don't buy, which was honestly just straight up a mistake, because this shade is so pink. It's clearly too deep for my skin tone as a highlighter, and I just don't think it would work on me as a blush either. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one too, which is really disappointing. So if I do repurchase these, I will buy them in shades I will actually use and love. So I'm just gonna get rid of this one today, and that leaves us with 5 cream highlights. Alright, we made it to the very last category, which is my powder highlighters. So again, I feel like I kind of have a small collection of highlighters. Like, in my mind I had more than this, but I feel good about this number, but I swatched them all out for you, so let's go through them. These first 2 right here are my Rare Beauty highlighters. We have Enlighten and Exhilarate. And guys, today when I went to use Enlighten on my face, I did hit pan on it. I don't know if you can tell. There's like the tiniest sliver of actual pan in there, so that's super exciting. I love these highlighters. They're definitely the most used right now in my collection. They are in my project pan. I am trying to hit pan on them, so I'm very happy about this. And then this is what my Exhilarate is looking like. I do like to mix the 2 together a lot, or again, just depending on my skin tone that day, I'll use one or the other. This 3rd one right here is new from Too Faced. This is the Moon Crush and Shooting Star. So I just got this like a week or 2 ago, and I do think it's really pretty. It is a little more gold than Exhilarate, but I really have been enjoying using this one, and it's a little bit of a softer glow than the Rare Beauty highlighters. These next 4 swatches right here are all from Sigma. So we have Moonbeam, which is the lightest. We have Twilight, which has a little bit of a pink undertone in it. And then we have Sizzle, which is definitely my favorite out of the 4. And then we have Savannah. But now that I'm looking at all of these swatches, Savannah looks pretty deep, and I think a little too deep for me. Let me just, like, I really haven't used this as a highlight much. I think I'm gonna declutter this one just because I think it's too deep to be a highlight for me. This swatch right here, I know it's kind of hard to tell. It really blends into my skin well. It is MAC Soft and Gentle. I haven't used this on my face in a while, but just looking at how pretty it looks on my arm, I definitely want to use it again. It definitely is more of a softer highlight than the other ones. And then this pretty last one is my Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb in How Many Carats. I don't use this product a lot. Ooh, I just thought of something. I'm going to Taylor Swift this weekend. I definitely need to bring this. Packing this for Taylor Swift. So, like I said, I don't use it a lot, but for special events, aka Taylor Swift, I will keep it, and I will use this for glitter all over my face. Now, I didn't swatch my Jaclyn the Flash palette, so I bought this like when she first launched these, and I don't support Jaclyn anymore. I did use the crap out of the CEO shade, but I never really used these two. Those are way too, like, this is too deep, this is too yellow. Let's just see here. Yeah, that second shade is definitely my favorite, but kind of compared to everything else, it is pretty similar to Exhilarate. It's like that shade is really pretty, but I do think it is more of like a blinding highlight, which really isn't popular. It's not what I like to wear now, and I do think my Rare Beauty is pretty similar to that, so I am going to go ahead and declutter this one. And that leaves me with 8 powder highlighters, and I feel super happy about that number. Anything less than 10, I'm pretty happy with, honestly. So here are all the products that I'm decluttering today. I feel super good about this. Like, it just feels so refreshing to get stuff out of my collection. And it was also just really fun to swatch everything, because like I said, I haven't gone through and swatched all of my shades and formulas. So if you haven't done that recently or haven't done it at all like me, I'd highly recommend doing it. Let me know if you guys want to see another part of this declutter, because I definitely need to go through my foundations, concealers, primers, setting sprays, all that other base makeup stuff. So let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.